Okay, so here we are. Hey guys, welcome to episode 27. It is March 15th, and this is our second call of the month. And so I'm going to go dark until next month, just to let you guys know. Plus, I'm going to be in Japan.
Nice.
Okay, I didn't know what to call this week, and I hope Tina is going to join us because she's the one who wanted this topic, as well as Mark Posh, and I see that they're both not here. And the person who said he's not going to be here, Jeff Gula, is here. What is going
It
on in
was
the world?
funny.
It's like upside
Oh,
down.
jeez.
All right. So here we go. First, I just want to say thank you for everybody who came out to the meetup. I don't see any of you guys here. All right. I can't even thank them. They're not here. Nobody's here. I get it. It's my fault. I didn't make the announcement and put the link up until late last night. So I apologize for that. But they can watch this. And if they're watching this now, that means they're watching the recording of this. Something funny happened when everybody came out. Everybody turned into like werewolves. And then somebody's throwing up gang signs over there. I think it's Dominique throwing up weird, like it's peace, but not really, whatever. And it was a good time. And unfortunately, I can't ask any of you guys if you liked it, what went on, and how it could be better, because none of you guys are here. Lance Mayfield, you said you were going to come, but then you didn't come. What happened to you?
I'm so sorry, man. I got too busy, and then I just got a new contract the day before, and I was so excited. I just wanted to get jumping on it because I had just got the meeting done, and I was like, let me work on this the whole weekend. But I love you guys anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Sounds like a lot of excuses to me.
Yeah, pretty much.
All
But
right.
it was hard to find a babysitter too. It was either that, bring 3 kids with me.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
All right, that was good. All right, too bad I can't share with you guys what happened because nobody's here. That's too bad. I would ask you guys like what worked, what could be better. I like to do that at the end of every event. I know that I've talked to some people individually. I think next time it will be much, much better. And the reason why I say that is because this was supposed to be an informal thing that grew into a much bigger thing, and then people wanted structure. And I wasn't prepared to do a talk or anything like that, and I didn't want to set an agenda. And my buddy Aaron Pearson was supposed to do all that, and he did not. So now I know if I'm going to commit to something like this, I might as well take on the role of organizing it and figuring out topics on how to do things. But I think what was interesting for those of you guys that weren't there, certain themes emerged during the day, and I want to share that with you briefly, okay? So that you can be the beneficiary of that information without even being there. The first thing is we wound up doing a hike, and it was strenuous, and I forget that it's strenuous for people who don't normally hike. I do the hike once, sometimes twice a week, and when I'm really bananas crazy, I'll do it 3 times a week. So it's not a big deal for me. But I forgot that the first time I had done that hike, it was rough. Like I wanted to quit. I was like having headaches, that kind of stuff. So for some people whose fitness level were kind of, it's all over the place, from people who ran up and down to people who were like just having a hard time getting through it. So I think they had, this is how I describe it, a personal breakthrough in that they pushed against what was uncomfortable and just set their mind to do something. And I think that set the tone and intention for the rest of the day. So when we got together, we sat in a round, like we set the chairs to kind of in a circular format, and we sat there and we talked about lots of different things. And again, it was a lot of like mindset, mind shifting, mastermind kind of things that we worked on in terms of people overcoming barriers. There were some very personal, touching moments, like people were like teary eyed kind of thing. And I thought that was really good that a group of strangers, quote unquote, from the internet can get together and have a much more meaningful connection and conversation than I would have in my normal everyday life. And I think there's something very unique about the people we meet online in that you're having a conversation with them and that you're engaging with them on a deeper level. You already know they're part of your tribe. You have certain shared values, struggles, challenges, and aligned in your thinking. And we say this a lot. It's like you can choose your friends and you can't choose your family. I think the people that we get to know in our immediate vicinity, our friends and acquaintances, don't necessarily share those same values. That's just the power of having common interests, I think. And I have deeper relationships with people that I met through the internet than I do in the real world. Who wants to say something? Nobody? I thought I just heard a boop. Okay.
Well, you got to give yourself credit, Chris, because you set that tone in the online thing to be as vulnerable as you want.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. But I also think, like, look at here's a relationship that is a point in as an example of how this thing has evolved. Mr. Ben Burns was a complete stranger to me, and he had been watching the School Network with Jose 3 years ago. That's before we even knew each other, before I was even on the channel myself. And then what Ben said was he left the channel, and in his feed, this bald Asian guy pops up. He's like, I'll give that channel another shot. So he watches it again, and then he becomes addicted to the content. He reaches out to me through Facebook and friends me. And I look at his profile pic. If you've ever seen his old profile pic, this is before he had the beard and his young cop, fighting shape. And he looked like, a thicker Matt Damon to me with his hair and his glasses, a nerdier Matt Damon, right? And so I actually have a conversation with him. That conversation turns into going out to speak at AIGA in Richmond, Virginia, and then us going fishing together along with Lance Mayfield, him flying out for a workshop and for a couple other meetings with me. And now he works at Blind, and he's the new digital director. I could not have predicted that that was going to happen, that an internet reach out would lead to a guy running a very vital part of our company and is so integrated into what it is that we're doing. This is, I don't know what this is, but that to me is like the strength of what's happening here in this group and outside. So I don't scoff at anybody who might have met their wife or husband through the internet. It's like there's a certain connection and you get to know who they are. If people are being genuine, that is. Now, of course, there are a lot of scammy things going on, but I won't get into that. All right. Let's talk about the homework. This is a homework. Did anybody do the homework? I know
I
one
just
person.
posted it in Facebook. Sorry.
You did, and you did not post it in Facebook.
I just posted it.
Well, it's too late.
Yeah. But people can
Gotta-
see it offline later.
All right. One person did, though, and I'm going to pull up what they did right now. So here are the questions because I'm about to switch screens, okay? It says, identify a recent purchase as something that you really liked. And the homework is written in a way that it allows you to do a self-guided self-reflection thing. And to ask yourself, how did you become aware of the product or service? And when considering a purchase, what research did you do? What factors did you take into consideration? And then why did you engage? What made you take action? And then upon taking action, did the brand or product or service meet or exceed your expectations, and how? Now, assuming that you followed this incorrectly, you were supposed to identify a recent purchase of something you really liked. So the answer should all have been yes, and then now you have to kind of ask, like, why? What's going on here? Did you share this afterwards? Did you tell a friend? Did you tweet about it? Did you snap a pic? Did you post it on Snapchat, Instagram, or something else? Why did you do that? And then it should become obvious at this point. The very last question is looking at your own brand. What do you have to do to get the same kind of response from your customer? So Lance, since we have you here and you oftentimes will disappear, I'm gonna let you go first, okay? If you can just pull out your answers and share your story, and let's kind of block out like a minute or so. Let's not get too long-winded on this, okay? Go ahead.
Sure. So what I did was, I've been like inundated with my kids playing basketball, so I was trying to figure out how could I make their handles better, dribbling skills better. And so I bought this heavy basketball. It's like 3 pounds. It's a super heavy ball, and it dribbles really well. And so when I was younger, I used the same thing, and I went and searched for it, and I couldn't find it. It took me a long time to find it, but I ended up finding it on Amazon. And so I bought the ball, and so I actually looked at several stores that said they had the ball in store, but they didn't have it. So going through the questions, how did I become aware of it? Because I used it as a kid. And then what research I did, I actually went to a couple of local stores like Big Five, Dick's Sporting Goods, and some other stores like Foot Locker. Nobody had this ball. And so I went online, searched for it, found it, and it says what research, what made me engage in it. I used it before, and it really helped me when I was younger with my ball handling skills. So, and then the other question is, How did the brand meet or exceed your expectations? My kids have already started using it, and their ball handling skills have already gotten better within a couple hours. Like, you can tell the difference. They're much easier handling the ball now, where they were struggling before. But like little skills like between the legs or behind the back, stuff like that. So they've already gotten better at that. I didn't share it online yet because I just got it like a couple days ago. I wanted to see how well it works. We tested it out last night in a full schedule for basketball, and it worked really well. So I did tell other parents, and I think like 3 other parents are going to end up buying the same ball that I bought. It's not a
That's
cheap
great.
ball; it's like $30. So I bought 2 of them, so they can do 2 hands at the same time dribbling. And then my current brand, my current brand is so busy right now that we're taking on the next customer that comes on has to pay a deposit because they have to wait till May in order to get started with us. So we're pretty busy, but at the same time, I think what I learned from Skill Coach that translates to my brand would be don't make it so difficult for somebody to find me.
Yeah. So this is a very niche product,
Very niche, yeah,
and it's probably very old school, right? So the
yeah,
fact that you even know that this ball exists already kind of puts you as an informed customer.
yeah.
So let's apply it to you real quick, okay? If you guys are just joining us, please mute yourself, and then unmute yourself if you're about to say something, because I'm hearing background noise, okay? All right. So with Lance, if you have a really informed, educated customer who's looking for you, they're looking for something very specific. So what keywords did you use to find this ball?
I searched for heavy and then basketball, and still nothing came up. It took a while for me to find it. Like I had to search for skills or something like that. I had to search for another brand in order to come across this brand. It was super hard.
Okay. So that means that general awareness of that specific ball and how it's described it isn't commonplace. So
No.
maybe we have to kind of understand that the person who's looking for you right now, Lance, may not even know how to type in what it is to look for you.
Yeah, I
So
think
then you need to think about adjacent kind of terms so that they can find their way back into you. Maybe?
I don't do a lot of SEO. Actually, I do know SEO.
Uh-oh.
So if somebody's looking for me, they have to basically know me right now,
Well, that's not
and
good.
that's kind of bad
You're
because
just like the heavy ball.
yeah, exactly.
It's kind of a weird way to say that, but you're like the heavy ball.
Yeah, it is. So I've already got my team working on the SEO part. So when it used to be like when somebody searched for app developer Los Angeles, I would come up and it would link to Yelp, and then my profile was there. So I quit paying Yelp last year in December after I started doubling down and thinking, oh, if I pay them more, I'll get more leads. And it turned out I got no leads after I paid them more. So it kind of bit me in the butt, but at least I learned a lesson from that.
I think there was a guy who told you not to do that.
I don't remember what his name was though.
I don't know. What was his name again?
Something Doe, or I don't know.
Yeah, something Blow Doe or Joe Doe or yeah. All right, Frodo. Okay. Yeah, that guy told you not to do it. But anyways, here we are. Okay, excellent. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to now switch over
Hmm.
to sharing preview. Can you guys see the preview screen now? Uplift desk?
Yep.
Super. Okay.
Gosh, I
Who
did
did
one,
this?
but I didn't send it in.
This is mine. Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Right. Right now I'm just looking at the screen, so I can't see your face. Awesome. Okay. The type is a little compressed, right? So I'm gonna do my best to read it for you guys because you might not be able to figure it out, right? So it says identify a recent purchase of something you like. Okay, so he says the uplift standing desk, which are quite popular, these standing desks these days. And he said that he saw an article on ergonomics comparing standing desk. And he read a lot of articles on and watched some YouTube reviews, asking questions in the comment section. He looked at reviews on Amazon and product website. Now look at many things he did to research and to make the decision to go ahead and keep going. Why did he engage? They seem to have the best quality of those that are researched. How many other brands did you look into, Chris?
Well, probably more than 10 initially,
Wow.
but I sort of had a top few that I was really looking into.
A top few?
Yeah, like maybe 3 that were
Do you remember the other brands?
contenders as I started to research more. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Do you remember the other brands?
there was Jaro. Does another one where they have they sell more of the legs, but there are other companies that sell tabletops for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget the name of the other one. I'd have to look it up.
Okay, that's all right. All right, so I think I'll analyze this in a second. Let me finish going through it. What made him take action? He's having some health issues. His back is hurting a little bit, wanting to get healthier, right?
Yes, definitely.
And I'm assuming you've already purchased it. Now he says, great product, well packaged, good instructions, pre-drilled holes for easier installation. And he did share it to a few people in person only, not on the internet. And now here's the big question. Is looking at your own brand, what do you need to do? So why don't you take over on that part?
Sure. Well, I think definitely I need to get better at communicating with clients and build more relationships. I didn't mention it in the previous questions, but I did contact support on a few things. They were very quick to get back to me. Gave me all the information I needed. And I think in general, I need more content, more reviews, more testimonials on my own site and also on third party like review sites, content elsewhere that talks about my process.
Okay, this is perfect. If you guys are looking at this, and I know it's not sexy to look at words on a page like this, but let's really dive into this because I think there's potentially a lot of value to kind of scrape from this. All right. You guys ready? You guys remember our conversation about the conversion purchase funnel? This is pretty much the conversion purchase funnel. And we go out at the end of the shoot into delight, which is what this particular product was able to do for Chris. So the first thing he did here was he read some articles. And the articles really spoke to him about ergonomics and why there are benefits to standing up while working instead of sitting down. So for me, if I'm looking at this in Chris's shoes, I'm thinking I need to write articles. I need to be featured on places where people are going to find me, not on my own website. That would be my first clear call to action is start writing articles. And what we want to do is parallel this, okay? And we can learn a lot from this. And now the next thing is he, as a customer, researched the heck out of this thing. Scraping, reading unbiased third-party information. So putting all the reviews, all the testimonials on your own site is good. That's a great first step. But what can you do to get other clients to link back to you or other articles to point back to you? Because as he talked about, he considered 10 different brands. And he was going through a series of questions. Maybe there was a price and performance thing that he was thinking about in terms of the sweet spot. Did you create like a little matrix in your mind in terms of like how sturdy it was and if it had the like, is this a pneumatic lift or is it electric or?
It's a pneumatic.
Okay.
So
And
there
did you
were some
consider
other
like a
ones
hand
that,
crank? There's 3 kinds, right?
yeah, definitely.
There's a hand crank, pneumatic, and then a motorized one with a track, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason why I ended up picking this one just was because it seemed the sturdiest from the reviews.
Okay.
And
That was
also
important to you.
it came with all the accessories that I wanted to purchase. I could do it all in one place and just get it done.
Yep. Okay. So let me just guys, I mean, I hope you guys are able to figure this out as you're doing this, all right? So I'm not going to spend a ton more time on this, but where's my pen? Okay. So he said it was sturdy and then it had the right accessories.
Yes.
Okay. Look at that. So those are his 2 key criteria. And sturdiness is one of them. It just has to be sturdy because some of these things do look a little flimsy to me. They're not well constructed. And so how do you translate sturdy into a thing that a client's looking for you? Like what's the core thing that they need from you? What do you think that is, Chris? What do you do again?
Uh, I do like branding work and website design mainly.
Okay, branding and then web design. Okay. What do you think that core attribute might be? When they're out there with money in hand, looking at you and 9 other competitors to you, what's that one thing that's so important to them?
I mean, I think visually the quality of the look is what gets people off the bat.
Okay. What else do you think it is?
In general, they're looking for people who are easy to work with, and
Give
they're
me give
looking
me 2
for
more.
professionalism in general, and and availability.
Okay. I'm surprised you did not mention results. But we'll get to that. How long have you been doing your business?
Probably about 7 years.
7 years. And what's your background?
Background as in
What'd you study?
digital media, mainly website design.
And where are you based out of?
Orlando.
Okay. Now I'm gonna turn on the power and intelligence of this group. Those of you guys that are in the branding and web design space, which of these qualities, or if you would say there's a different one, would be like the equivalent to the desk must be sturdy? I'm gonna turn that back onto you. So let me read it. Go ahead.
Assuring your clients that you're going to get the results that you want, that they're
So you
gonna,
say Mario Ronchi is saying results.
yeah, or assurance actually, like you say all the time.
Assurance.
Yeah,
Like you're gonna get it done.
yeah, you're gonna get it done. Basically.
Yeah, like peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
Yeah.
All right. So both Mario and Carrie, that was Carrie, right? Peace of mind, y'all?
Yep. Yeah, that was
Okay.
me.
Okay. Just
That was
checking.
me, y'all.
All right.
Mhm.
And assurance. Now those are both benefits and not features, which is really important. Okay. Anybody else want to chime in here? Okay. So if you're doing this exercise the way it was intended for you to do, and I think Kyle was the one who helped me write those questions, and we just did it together as homework, right? Was it Kyle? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was him.
Amy, I think.
Oh, it was
was
Amy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was Amy. So sorry, Amy. Thanks for helping to write the assignment. Now, see how we started out with the visual, like it looks good, and looking good is somewhat subjective. And if we look at that and we think, well, I think it looks good. Of course, I think it looks good. I made it, or my team made it. But then when you put 9 things together, somebody likes something that's a little more flowery, somebody likes something that's a little bit more corporate. And where do you fit in that? It's hard to compete on that. Now, I think what it looks like might have been your accessories. Like we have to kind of think, what is the key driver of them making the decision? And you might ask some of your clients, why did you pick me? Maybe a client who's a little bit more sophisticated could say like, is this a fully responsive shop? Are they doing responsive design? Does this look good on mobile? Are they smart about that? Is the site optimized? Does it move really fast? Do they have great user experience design? Those kinds of things, and start to think about that. All right. So what I would love for you to do, and everybody that has or has not yet done this, is to think about what those 3 drivers are going to be and prioritize them. And whatever winds up being number 1, start the site, your landing page with that, and then drill down from most important to least important. Generally speaking, you start with benefits and you drill into features, right? And somebody who's really well versed in web development at that point, at the very bottom, could say, we're an Apache developer, or I don't even know the terms, to be honest. Full stack, half baked, whatever the terms are, you would list at the bottom, not at the top. Okay, tell a compelling story that immediately addresses that. And so we all have a lot of work to do if you just look at this purchase funnel, right? Chris, is that you nodding?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I have so many different screens here trying to figure out where the heck we are. So
Yeah,
good.
I'm definitely moving more that way, but I'm just talking as in my current situation, how I've been more selling in the past has been based more on visual aspects. Like I haven't spoken a lot in my marketing to strategy and things of that nature.
Right.
So
this is the big shift, right? I'm going to ask you a couple of more questions. I'm going to let you, I'm going to move on. Okay.
sure.
A couple of questions is, what's the average size of engagement that you see?
Average size, I'd say probably about 3-4 grand.
Okay. What size would you like that to be?
Bigger, I'd say probably like the 20 grand projects and up.
Okay. And how often have you done a 20 grand project?
I haven't done, and I've done a 15 one that's getting more stuff added to it. Could eventually get there. I'm
Okay.
currently in the process of developing it.
Okay. So 15 was your previous high. So you're talking about going up in a 5x. That's a big jump, dude.
Yeah.
I like the boldness of your thinking. And when you jump that far, here's a lesson that I learned from my business coach. He had said that every time you make one of these big jumps, you have to drastically change who you are, how you present yourself, how good your game is at that point. And every time you have that big jump, you have to level up. So if we're talking about a video game, you start out like level 4 and you have to jump to like level 16. It's not like level 5 and 6. It's a big jump.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's like Lance Mayfield playing with his balls, his heavy balls, right? He wants to level up his kids, so they're training and they're learning how to play and dribble and hand skills in a very different way. It's like going from the D League, the development league, to the NBA. Big deal. Okay? So that means that the clients and customers that you've been winning at the 3,000 to 4,000 range, I think they are probably just coming to you based mostly on aesthetics. Like, that looks good. I should hire Chris. He's going to be cool. And you get into the 20K and the 40K and the 80K. Now, just as to entice you guys to stick around for the final part of this talk today, I've included some pricing at the bottom, which I've shared here and there, but I'm going to show it to you guys again because there's been a lot of talk about how much to charge, how many projects you can do, and it's at the bottom. And for some of you guys, the prices that we're quoting our clients are going to shock you. They're going to mess you up, okay? And stick around for that. So this is excellent. I hope the rest of you guys work on just understanding how you make purchase decisions and then turning that inward and being very introspective and being very honest with yourself about what you are or are not doing. And most of us fail right at the awareness part of the conversion funnel. How is somebody going to find you? What are you doing? All right. I hope
I
that you
think
guys are doing these
I'm sorry.
homework things, but I get such low participation in it. Go ahead, Carrie.
Yeah, I did one, but I didn't turn it in. But
Well,
with
what
my,
does that do me now, Carrie?
I'm
I
actually
know,
doing mine right now.
I'm
Oh my
sorry.
God, you guys are like, teacher, we didn't study for the
Latest
test, we're studying right
diamonds.
now. You guys
But
have
when
that-
I did mine, it realized how much trust comes into factor as well, right? Influence and leadership and trust and culture, basically, too. So I thought it was kind of interesting.
Well,
Uh,
if you look at Dr. Cialdini's book, Principles of Influence, social proof is a big one. Social proof
yeah.
comes in, what other clients have they worked with? So, Chris, I'm sorry, I lied. I said, I'm going to let you off the hook and we're going to move on. But
No worries.
what brands do you admire, Chris?
Brands as far as like website design or
No, like brands in the real world. Forget about our little insular community here.
I like Theory 11 is a good brand.
Okay, you like them?
Yeah.
What do they
do
make?
like custom playing cards and things of that nature.
Okay, cool. So imagine if you had Theory 11 as one of your clients, or a big, well-known brand. When clients come to you, they're gonna be like, "Wow." They didn't even know who you are, and they're like, "Chris has worked with some big people. He's worked with Theory 11, you guys. He's worked with Chevrolet. We don't know what we're doing, but if those guys trust him, he's doing something right."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now, sometimes, you guys, I start to rage on people doing work and taking less than what they're worth, and people get mad at me for doing that. But the one time where it's okay, Uncle Chris says right now, if you work with a really big brand and you're like, I'm not getting a good end of this deal, but you really think that brand's going to help cement like future work coming in, it might be okay. It might be okay for you to do that just so you can attach them as your client. Okay? That's my like one like hall pass. Like go ahead and do it.
And would you say making those types of connections is more like networking and things of that nature? Or like if right now I don't have, like I have some bigger sized companies that I've worked with, but I don't have like bigger known names.
So what's your question?
So
How do you get them?
how do you start doing more projects for bigger names? Like I
Okay.
have through work, I've done some stuff for various companies, but not through my own company.
Okay. Well, it's a process of scaffolding. And those of you guys that went to the sales and marketing workshop boot camp, we talk about this. Oftentimes we target Theory 11, and Theory 11 is too far out of reach for us.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'm totally unfamiliar with the brand. You might as well just say, whatever. But
Gotcha.
say Theory 11 is like, oh my God, Theory 11, he's working with Theory 11. That's amazing. What you do is you start to look at brands that are competing against them that we would call challenger brands. And then you would start to work with them. So you have to scaffold your way up. If you want to date a supermodel and you're not dating supermodels currently, right? You have to start dating like the prom queen. And then you go to like Miss Florida, Miss Orlando, whatever it is. You work your way up. Okay, unless you're like a really super good looking guy like Lance, it's just not going to happen. Right? You don't have kind of mad game. You have the scaffold. So start looking at that. We can't all just work with Nike as much as we'd like to. It's just hard. It's really difficult. So look at challenger brands and people in the supply chain.
Okay.
Or how about like take my product, for example. It was a recommendation of this influencer. So would you go after maybe products that they recommend, or could that be like a shoot, whatever? Do you know what I mean? So like I bought essential oil, right? Didn't even look at the website, didn't really even care, but because I trusted the person, because she recommended it, I bought it. So would you go after those as well? The people that are recommending? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was a
The
little
brands.
confused at the very beginning of your question because I thought you were
Sorry.
giving Chris advice.
No, it was a
Like,
continuation
enough
on
about
that.
Chris. Talk to Carrie a little bit here. Because you're like,
No.
well, take for example. And I was like, oh, Carrie's going to drop some knowledge. I was just listening for it. I'm like, wait a minute. Hard pivot.
Yeah, sorry.
All right,
Well,
sorry.
like
All right.
it's kind of in that realm of adjacent supplier brands, right?
Look, dude, do whatever you got to do. I'm not sure about this whole influencer thing. And I don't want to just give you a knee-jerk reaction to this. But if they can help to get you there, then that'll work. And you're right. I mean, if in your market you trust influencers, and I think there's a case to be made for this happening more and more, then work with those people.
We'll take you for example, right? You're an influencer in our space.
Okay.
If you go and recommend a certain camera or a lighting, we would take your. That would carry a lot of weight.
Right.
Right.
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, because I use cameras. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but what I'm asking is, would you go after those products that they're recommending, or is that not really considered adjacent brands?
You're trying to go after the brands so you can connect to the influencer?
Right. Like if
Why
you
don't
want to
talk to
work
the
with,
influencer? They're not that hard to talk to.
well, you just said to go date the
Only
non-prom
but
queen.
influencer is not a supermodel. There's some jerk off on the other side of the screen who's trying to make a living from the bedroom. I know that.
I'm just saying.
Where we're at right now, you guys. Come on.
I was trying to figure it out with your probably an analogy.
Okay, all right, guys.
So-
I'm gonna just give you the quick answer. And we're gonna move on because there's
Okay.
a soft agenda here. But I like the conversation that's going on here, and I hope you guys do as well. I don't know if I'm an influencer, but we do know this. We do know that we trust people and what they say more than we trust the internet, because we've been burned too many times. Like, why is somebody so compelled to ask me a question as opposed to just asking Google? I think we just trust people, right? There's certain people that you trust and you ask. But even in my little space, I reached out to Mr. Blair Ends, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. And I'm not an influencer, but he was a very sweet, kind, and generous. And I'm going to tell that story later, but it's not that hard to reach people. Aaron Pearson just calls up Douglas Davis or hits him up on Twitter, and next thing he's on his podcast. Because they're looking for the same thing that you're looking for. They're looking for exposure. And even if you're just a fan, like yesterday, I met up with somebody who just discovered the channel and happened to be in town, gave me a compelling story, so I met with them for coffee. We're not that hard to get in touch with. It's just normal people. Now, if your influencer is Kim Kardashian, that's going to be a problem. And I get that because too many people are approaching her and her defenses are up. But if we're talking about like regular people, I think they're more open than you think. Okay? Is that what you're asking, Carrie?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I suggest, I'm going to say this crudely, that you just, no, I'm not going to say it crudely. Self-evident right there. I don't want, I'm like, oh, this call's being recorded. Is just try. Do what
Okay.
Lance does. Play with heavy balls.
Play with heavy balls.
Play
All
with
right.
heavy balls. Just quote that, all right? You got that?
Got it.
All right, we're back on
Hey,
screen.
Lance, you need a t-shirt.
Yeah. Play with heavy balls. The secret to his life. Okay, so you guys see the agenda screen?
Yep.
Cool. All right. I'm going to ask you guys this question. And so a lot of what I do is just to ask the questions. That's what my coach does, and this is what I'm doing to you. It rolls downhill. How did you guys do on your quarterly goals? Those of you guys that posted your goals, how did you do? Okay, I just want you to think about it. You don't need to answer me, because this is part of the power of the group. We hold each other accountable. So those of us that set really lofty goals, good luck. I hope you get there. And those of you guys that set too low goals, well, now you guys set new goals. The point is to set goals that are somewhat attainable, a little bit out of your reach. And as soon as you hit them, set newer goals. Okay? Something we talked about at the retreat meetup was that a lot of us set too big of goals in the short term and set too small goals in the long term. And we have that equation totally inverted. Set smaller short-term goals and bigger long-term life goals. That's the way you align for success. And then the next set of questions is, are you feeling confident about hitting your goals for the year? And then if not, how come? What's the biggest challenge you're facing? I want you guys just to think about that. And if you don't mind, just take a minute. When I say a minute, I'm going to give you 5 seconds, but a minute to jot something down, because we'll circle back to this if we have time. Okay, you guys, just take, a little second here while I'm talking and just think about this. How are you doing in your goals for the quarter? And then ultimately for the year? And how come you're not getting there if that's the case? And if you're getting there, set some new goals, and I love that. Now, as we're talking about scaffolding, this is exactly what we're doing. If we say by the end of the year, Chris is going to have 4 clients at $20,000 a piece, that's a good goal. But that goal might be a little out of reach because that's a 5x goal from what he's currently doing. And so we set, instead of a yearly goal, we set a quarterly goal. So we break the year down into quarters and quarters into months. I think there are 3 months in a quarter. So then you say, well, what do I got to do this month and this quarter to plant the seeds so that second or third quarter, I'm going to bag my first $20,000 job. And that's how you guys form a plan. Okay? Okay. We'll circle back to that. I hope I stalled long enough for you guys to think and write something down. Okay, we have like a little under an hour, 45 minutes left together. And I think I'm okay on time. So here's the agenda. And I know it took a little while to get to the agenda, but we wanted to talk about a couple things. So I went into Facebook. I pulled out some of the most heated conversations we're having that had something to do with me and what I could talk about. So here they are. And we can change this if you guys like. There are a lot of questions about this $1 million proposal we put together. So request for proposal and how we respond. Okay. There was this question about transparency. How much do you disclose about what you're doing and how do you do that? And should you do that? And some of us have some issues about outsourcing. Again, should we do that? Why should we do it? How do we do it? And do I do it? Next up is, how do you price web projects? I think this was really driven by Tina, who wanted to know how many web projects are you guys doing a month? And of course, that conversation like blew up and mushroomed. So we're going to talk about that as well. And some people are wondering, should we just do strategy only? Because, making stuff is tough. Did somebody just say it is? Okay. Should you include deliverables? All right. So I'm going to open it up to take on 2 more things. If anybody wants to add to this, let me know. What do you want to add? Anything else you want to add to the agenda that's hot and burning? Because remember, we're not going to talk for another 2 weeks, okay? Anybody? Going once? Perfect. So we're going to work with this. All right, let's begin then, okay? Who wants to know what about RFP? I think Jeff Gula had some questions, right? Jeff, are you still on?
Yeah, I am.
All right, dude. I'm going to make it worth your while. First of all, I'm happy to hear your voice and to see that even though you're a busy man working in Canada, that you're kind of re-engaging with the group, and I love seeing that. So Jeff, let's talk about it. What do you want to know?
How did you go about getting the RFP in the first place?
Okay. Now I have to be very careful here because there's NDAs and all that kind of nonsense, and I have to be mindful of that. I'm going to tell you exactly how I got here, okay? And if you guys have heard part of this story, you'll probably deduce who the client is, but I just can't say. Okay? I think a lot of how I'm able to get projects is because of where we live, where we work. We live in Los Angeles, we work here, and it's a hub of a lot of things going on. I met up with a girl yesterday from Sydney, Australia, and she goes, there's so many hustlers here. Everybody's just trying to like get ahead. And there's a kind of energy that I've only seen like elsewhere, like in New York. This is what she said. So here I am going to a fast food Mexican place. I'm going to Baja Fresh, and I bump into this woman. And she and I went to the same school. We chat. We reconnect after years of not seeing or talking to each other. And we stay in touch. And I lecture for her class. And she comes to do studio visits with us. Everything is great. She gets a job at a fast-growing startup. She brings us in and introduces us to people. So we've done 2 or 3 projects with this very large, fast-growing startup worth billions of dollars. Okay. And then they come back and are like, we like that little thing you did. We like the other thing. We got this big thing we want to talk to you about to see if you'd be interested in doing it. Now, it's a little bit out of our wheelhouse because it's developing a lot of tech stuff. And we really lead with brand and strategy. Tech is not really the thing that we sell. So it's nice to be invited to this thing. And we try to ask them, what's your budget? What's your budget? And they wouldn't say. And so we sit down and we're like, you know what? This is what we think it should cost. So from the sales and from the sales and marketing bootcamp thing, we talked about people don't make one giant big decision. It's not often they do that. They make a series of decisions of escalating commitment or micro conversions. You have to think about that. These little things start out as being water vapors in the sky that start to kind of condense and form into water. and then they fall down, and during cold weather it turns into snowflakes. A bunch of snowflakes gather together and become a little ball. That little ball rolls down the hill, it gets bigger and bigger, and before you know it, there's an avalanche. And I think the problem is, if you stand really far back, all you see is the avalanche. And you're like, how do I create my own avalanche? But when in fact, you should be thinking about, how am I producing the water vapor? Ooh, this tea is strong. I'm getting a crazy buzz right now. Woo. All right. So Jeff, that's kind of the long story to how we got in position for this thing. It's not that we were posting articles or doing anything like that. It's just hand-to-hand combat. Every client that comes in, we do a good job. We try to exceed their expectations. And when we do so, and we're easy to work with and good human beings, they're like, huh, maybe they can do this other thing. So within this large tech startup, they have several divisions, and we've now worked with 3 different divisions within the company. That's a very positive sign that the blind team is doing something right. Because I like to say, like, people talk about viral videos. I like to just to be viral within a company that you spread. Jeff, any other questions or anything about that? I'm happy to answer anything in the most transparent way that I can.
I think that was pretty good because you described exactly like how you went about it. I'm used to with a lot of RFPs that they actually have something where you can bid for, and then you just put in the papers for that. So it was good that you talked about like the connection that you had, and then you built on that over time.
Yeah. And the good thing, I mean, look, because this is not our first introduction to the company, and we have friends on the inside, we try to like glean as much information as we can. And we have a call, and they're local, so it's kind of nice because they know we're just a stone's throw away from where they're at. So if there's ever an issue, they can come, or we can come to their office. In fact, later today we have a call scheduled with them, and so we're going to go over the proposal, because somebody had this question, like, you just submit the proposal, you don't talk about it? Yeah, if that's what they want. We do what what our clients want us to do. So now we have a call scheduled, which is a good thing. Now, I hope that in some weeks we'll be able to report back, guys, we just bagged this monster job. But I don't know. And the point is just to have lots of lines out there getting on multiple monster jobs. That's my philosophy. And so I had said in that comment, this is the second job in a month's time that we're putting in a 7-figure proposal. I think the other one, they had sticker shock and they went numb, so it's okay. I'm all right with that. Part of this whole thing that I'm trying to share with you guys, I was going to use the word teach, but I'm just going to say share, is our approach to doing things. In that the way you get higher prices is you have to ask for it and stick to your guns. You can't cave. So Chris or Carrie or whoever, if you want to get to $20 or $30 or $40,000, you have to put a plan in motion, get used to saying that, and set your mind to it, so that when they come and they have 7,000 or 5,000, you say, you know what, I can't do that, but I know people who can. Let me refer you to some people in my network. And some of those people are on this call today. So get to know the people in your community. So
You're so spot on, Chris.
You can get work from people and you can give work to people. This is the group. Sorry, Jeff, did you say something?
Oh no, it's
No,
Jared.
it wasn't me. There you
Oh,
go.
Jared, what did you say, Jared?
Yeah, so spot on, man. I went from 10 to 75. And everything you said is spot on. I'm on the train, so bear with me. I don't know if you can hear it clearly. But I'm on the way to kind of
That's
meet
cool.
the client. But
Yeah, I will say that I've noticed it's very much like mental jumps that you have to make.
Yeah, no, it totally is. But you know what? I saw it. I think I've been seeing it and kind of like feeling it every time. I think I mentioned before, when you feel like, you know what, I should charge X. And I think it's that mental jump, and then you feel more comfortable doing it, But what you had talked about a little bit before, Chris, was the scaffolding, because, now I send out stuff, for a little bit higher price. I'm like, wait a minute, I can't send out the same stuff like that's visually appealing at 10 that I'm sending out for like 75. So now, like, I saw stuff that Chris Aaron did at Vitals. I'm like, man, that's an awesome deck. So I got to get that. So I'm having a designer like redo like my marketing stuff to just visually, like
There
the
you go.
copy's there and the copy works, but visually it has to get up to that like next level. And I saw Aaron's stuff. I'm like, man, that's sharp. So yeah,
Yep.
totally. That's like that's totally spot on. And yeah.
Let me tell you this funny conversation I had with Mr. Ben Burns, who along with Greg and Jamie put together this deck. They showed it to me, and I asked them before, because they want feedback. They want to make sure, like, hey, there's a $1 million riding on this deck, right? Yeah. And so they showed it to me, and I said, you guys, before I even say anything, did you put together a deck that's worth $1 million for me? And then they're like looking at each other like, because that's what we're talking about here, you guys. So Jamie like worked on designing every little bit, all the details. I said, I want 0 mistakes in this thing. Because if I'm $1 million buyer, if you have one mistake in here, like a grammatical thing, extra piece of punctuation, even an extra space in a sentence, for me, I'd be like, I'm done with you. Hopefully the content is there. The idea is that the content there, but now every little part, you can't approach it the same way you would a $200,000 job. It's just not the same.
Yeah, and you have to look at, and the thing is, like, the packaging. When you open up the iPhone, and they're masters of that Apple stuff, when you open up the iPhone and the packaging and the experience of that, it's the same thing. Like, what are you encasing it in, all of that's so important.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep moving because we got a lot more to talk about. So that's how we got this RFP. That's how we responded. We literally sent it out Monday night, and we're doing the call today. And I'll keep you guys updated, okay? Super secret. Can't talk about it, but I can talk around it. Okay. I don't know if this is as important, but we're going to talk about transparency and outsourcing because they're kind of related. Somebody in the group, I can't remember who asked it. If you're on the call, speak up. Or if you know who said it, is how transparent am I and talking about how we do something, how much things cost, what partners we team up with, etc. Okay. And I responded in a very cryptic way. I said, I'm as transparent as I need to be. If I'm having an argument with my wife or my kids are doing poorly in school, full transparency, I'm going to tell you everything, but that's just too much information. And I don't need to know that. So it's on a need to know basis. If I think it's material to them making a decision, I want to be open and honest about it. And I know in the past when I've taken advice not to, it's always come back to bite us in the butt. If development isn't your forte, as it's not mine, I would say very clearly, we're going to team up with somebody. And this is how we work. And this is how we've worked in the last 20 years. We don't staff up with experts in everything that we do. That would be a waste of money and would make our prices astronomical. That's a good way to design yourself out of business. And that's not what we do. What I have is a core team of thinkers and designers who know how to assemble an amazing team. And it's 20 years of building teams and relationships. And that's what we bring to the table. We've done the work of vetting people. And we have a very successful track record of bringing in people all the time to help us. And usually when I say that, it just kind of ends the conversation. People get all weird about that stuff. So if it's weird, then we're not the right players for you. Okay? If you want to hire the one person who does that one thing all the time, go do that. We don't think that's in your best interest. And I can argue my way out of that one as well. So that's my approach to transparency. I only say what I think is material to it, and then I'm honest and I try to be very direct about it. Any questions on transparency and outsourcing? Great. Moving on. Pricing web projects. Now, we saw prices run the gamut from not a lot of money to a lot of money. So let's talk about that without any judgment. Okay, this is not about judgment. And I know sometimes my tone is very judging, even though I don't mean to be. What do you guys want to know about pricing web projects? Because this was really driven by Tina. Had so many comments on it. I think it must be important to you guys. What do you guys want to talk about in terms of web pricing? Anybody? Where's Tina? Or Will? Okay.
Could
Go ahead,
I?
Jeff.
So one thing I've been trying is doing like a 3-tier system. Like you get in the highest price, you get a medium price, and a low price. But the low price is like something you do for very, very basic stuff. And the ideal price you want higher, but usually they go for the middle, I find.
Mm-hmm.
What do you suggest? Do you think that's a good way to go about it?
That gets into pricing dynamics and pricing theory, and there's a lot of truth to what you say. I've spoken to somebody whose very good friend is an economist for countries. He consults for that kind of stuff, and he says the Apple pricing model is to do good, better, and best, but nobody buys best; they buy better, because that helps them understand, like, I don't need the very best. The one down below is the one I want. So they create the very best just so you can buy the better. Okay. Jeff, for some reason, your mic is like popping and all weird. I'm going to mute you, okay? And then unmute yourself
sure,
when you want to jump back in. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you can pull that off. And it's hard because sometimes people are very price driven if you don't clearly delineate the different product offerings or the approaches, because that has to be very clear. And in comparing pieces of hardware, it's very clear. You actually get something tangibly different. In creative services, it's not as clear. Okay. So you'll have to figure out how to articulate that. One way to do what Jeff had just said is, I can give you a number of solutions ranging from 5 to 25,000. Where do you fit in this scale? Like what feels comfortable for you? And of course, naturally, they're going to say, well, what's the difference between a $5,000 thing and a $25,000 approach? And then that's upon you to be able to articulate that very clearly. Now, I'm a cocky prick, as somebody on the internet on YouTube called me. I don't like to even offer that low price option. Okay. And so I know you guys have heard me say this. When somebody asks me to design a keynote and they're asking me to do this more and more often, I say $10,000. There's no bracketing. There's nothing. I just say $10,000 because I just wanted to see if I can get paid $10,000 to basically design 10 slides. And at first people are like, no. I'm like, okay, fine. I don't need this money. I don't need this job right now. And eventually like, okay, sort of. And then now there's no resistance anymore. Now clients just come and are like, it's $10,000. Like, okay. And that tells me it's time to change the price to whatever the new price is going to be. Now I know you guys are sitting there thinking, oh my God, design 10 slides for $10,000. That's $1,000 a slide. I'd like to make that. And the good news about doing keynote decks and slides is there's not a lot of heavy design there because you need to design for impact. It's not like little bits of typography that are 6-point, it's a big image, a big idea, a color palette. So that's a whole business model that you can build. And Nancy Duarte has proven that works because her company is like 75 people. And what they do is design decks. They helped you write the story, but it boils down to them making decks. $10,000 decks. How many of you guys would like to do that? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Jeff, I forgot what you asked. This tea is like buzzing through my head here. What did you ask again? What are we talking about?
It was just like different
pricing
types of prices. Yeah, exactly.
So can you articulate to your client what the difference between a low price option and a high price option is?
Yeah, I've been able to do that, but it took like a couple days to make sure I had all the things I wanted in there. Yeah. And it was very clear. So there's no confusion about what they get.
Great. And what option do they often pick?
It's been middle actually for the most part. So it's been pretty good in that regard.
Good. So all you have to do over time is to move the middle up and the up higher and the low higher, so you just keep doing that. That sounds like it's working for you really well. So that's a good piece of advice for some of you guys that are having difficulties getting clients to buy, to present them 3 options. I like high and even higher. And I'm gonna tell you a little story, okay? I didn't think. Thanks for smiling there, Chris. Ben Burns, what is it? He texted me. He's like, Chris, somebody in Canada wants you to speak, and I hope that somebody's not on the phone today because now I'm gonna be in trouble. Ben's not here. Ben, stop me. This is your chance to stop me, Ben. Okay, Ben's not gonna stop me. He's like, Chris, they want you to speak, and how much you want to charge them? I said, well, Ben, and I'm texting him. They have to cover my airfare, hotel, and all that kind of stuff. And I want them to pay me $5,000. Later that day, I see Ben because Ben's at the office. I'm working from home. I come in. He's like, Chris, I told him it's between 5 and 15, and they didn't seem to have a problem with that. And I told my wife this story. She's like, I like Ben Burns. He's a good man. Charlie Brown. He's a good man. Because Ben just took my price and just added more to it. And like, what's the worst that could happen? To give me the 5. And we got into this conversation, and she goes, you should never negotiate for yourself anymore, Chris. I said, I shouldn't. I need people to just do all my work, negotiate, write the contracts, do everything. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit here and have conversations with people like you. And the thing is, the reason why I'm not good at asking for money for in that specific instance is because I actually want to go and speak. So I'm like going against my own nature. The money is secondary to me. But somebody else who doesn't have that kind of hidden motivation can just very objectively say, it's this, whatever, no problem. And maybe that's how you guys work. Like you really want to build a website. You really want to rebrand them. You really want to write a snazzy new headline and copy and write a campaign for them. So you negotiate against your best interest, which is to put food on the table and money in the bank account. So think about that, you guys. Because often, if you guys have more than one person in your office, you could assign somebody else to do that conversation for you because they're totally objective. Now, when it comes to real work, I have no problem asking for money. It's the speaking part. It's like, you got me in my weak spot there. Because part of my thing is to go and spread the message and share it with people. Okay.
You had said that the keynote quotes that you were
Who's
giving.
talking? Who's talking?
What's that?
Who's talking right now?
I am.
Oh, Chris. Okay, sorry. Yeah. I have different screens on. Okay, go ahead.
I had a question on the keynote. You said that it became easier to just give them the price and there would be little resistance. Do you think that's because you're getting like higher referrals because you've done it more, or is it your process that you're more comfortable presenting the number?
Very good question. Thanks for asking that. Excellent question from Chris. I was comfortable telling that number in the first place. I just think the clients that came to me in the beginning, and we're talking about like 2.5 years ago, our company and how we're positioned is very different today than it was then. So people didn't even know we designed stuff. They thought we'd just make animations and visual effects for videos and commercials. So when we said we're going to design you a keynote deck, they're what? And I was talking to smaller business owners, people who by every stretch of anybody's definition were super successful, but they weren't companies. They were making $1 million a year, but they weren't companies. And so for them, spending $10,000 on a deck didn't make any sense for them at all. And I get that. So we're not a good fit for each other. So I was out going to find my ideal client. They just weren't in it. And believe it or not, Chris, because I haven't spoken to you and about this, but I did a website before for $5,000. It was the worst experience. I almost, I'm not saying I cried, but I was like, this is horrible. The web sucks. This is stupid. I'm never going to do a website again, because they tortured us over the project and changed everything and made it like just horrible. And ultimately I checked back on the site like a year later and it's like, it's the most like disastrous thing you've ever seen. So that really tainted my experience because they were not a good client for us. And I had a lot of growing up to do. I had to learn how to run digital projects correctly. Okay. This is pre-core. Okay. So now I know how to do these things and it's much easier to do. So talking about it wasn't the problem, was finding better clients and being positioned to attract the right kind of clients. That's it. And now I think, $10,000, maybe that's not enough because everybody's saying yes. If too many people say yes, it's time to change your rate. Okay. You guys heard that, right? If too many people are saying yes, change your rates. How do you change your rates? Just double it. Don't go bananas. Just double it. 2x. So if you're getting 5, ask for 10. If you're getting 10, get 20. I don't mean to go exponential, but just double it. All right. And here's the pricing information. You guys can screen cap this if you want, and now would be a good time to do it. Here are some prices that we're throwing out there. Okay. This is just a menu of services that we offer. And I'm going to show you 2 pages of this. And you guys have any questions, just ask me. If you can't see it, I'll zoom in. And when we do discovery, what you guys call as a brand name core, we do not. We just say discovery, and it's between 30 to 60, and the prices keep getting higher. When we do an identity design, which is really a logo, we charge $18,000. Okay. A website, we're going to start at the low end at $40,000. That's just the price to play. If somebody asked me to design a single page today, just make this a single landing page, it would still be 40, because I'm not going to go below that. It's not worth my time. This is where I will refer it to you guys. I'll say, but I have people in the network if you want to work with them. And then I will send it to you, and I'll get a referral rate from you, a referral fee. Happy to do that. Okay. If people want us to write copy, and we say like, we'll write like 3 headlines for 1 campaign, right? Campaign of 3 ads, it'll be $15,000. A couple of revisions in there. If you want us to design any collateral, like business card, letterhead, anything like that, we'll do that for 15. We're going to do 3 pieces for 15,000. If you want us to help you with your brand rollout strategy, that's going to be additional 10,000. So this is kind of like a menu of services. So here are additional services, and you guys can screen cap this so you have a point of reference if you want. I'm not saying you need to. Social strategy and voice, post templates, publishing calendar, 20,000. Quarterly social inbound campaign, community management, 10 to 30,000 bucks a month. Identity system, we already talked about that. PowerPoint keynote presentation is 10,000. There's no animation involved. We don't get involved in that. Website design development, we already have this. Video production is anywhere between 40, actually can go up to $1 million. I'm seeing that there's a mistake here. Interior design and all these other kind of services we can do. And then at the very, very bottom, I don't love this part, but I include it in here because people ask. Sometimes it's a requirement. If we go out of scope, what is the hourly rate that you're going to charge us when we go out of scope? Just so they have some transparency and visibility on that. So we say it's a $350 an hour blended rate. Have you guys heard that term blended rate before? It's a term I learned from Jose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Everybody? Anybody have questions about anything they've seen so far besides that we were missing a K there? Dang. Fuse and Keynote and OS. All right. I'm not gonna try.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Who's this?
Andre.
Andre.
Yes, long time no see, my friend.
Yes. How are you? Okay, ask your question. Go.
In the first price deck, I didn't understand the difference between the first strategy and the rollout strategy.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. When you're talking about social strategy, or which is it, this page or the previous page?
The previous page, the first one.
First, this is the first page here. So
yes,
discovery, what we call strategy discovery.
And the last one, brand rollout
strategy.
What is the difference between these?
Okay, good question. When we're going to meet with you in your office and we run discovery, and it usually takes us about 6 to 10 hours, sometimes broken up over 2 days. That's what we call discovery. We sit down, we do the core exercises with our clients, and that's what we charge $30,000 to $60,000 for. Okay. We write a document, we create stylescapes, we do a brand audit, we do a bunch of different little things, and that's what's included in that price. Okay. That is just basically for all of us to understand the problems and challenges and what the solutions could be. Mm-hmm. That's not actually us making stuff.
Okay.
So when we talk about the brand rollout strategy, that is like because somebody specifically asked us for that, so we put it in the bid. And there's details that I don't share with you, but this is the price. So when we talk about the rollout for a large company, they have lots of moving parts and pieces. They need to know how to implement and execute that, because you can't make it all at the same time. Thank you. Okay. So like you might start to change some of the social media icons to the beginning. You might make a little announce, and while you're building the site, a temp page might go up. So you have to think about how to roll it out. And if there are physical brick and mortar stores, when do we change the signage versus the menus and everything else? Whatever. That's the rollout strategy. Does that make sense?
Yes, Chris, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions about pricing? Go ahead.
I'm just wondering it's Vilde from Norway.
Okay, what's your question?
I'm wondering what you do, like, because we want to sell our customers support agreements, you know, that we keep updating their websites and especially with WordPress, like updating plugins so that they don't get hacked. But it's hard for us to convince, like, depends on how technical competent the customers are. But how do you like convince the clients to go for like for us to keep supporting them on the website, and what kind of pricing do you do there?
Okay. How much do you charge to do web maintenance right now, Vilda?
Let me convert that into dollars.
Okay, go ahead. Convert it.
$200 and $500 a month.
Yeah, $200 to $500 a month.
Okay, so we're gonna split that baby in the middle, as Jose would say. Let's say it's $350, right?
Yeah.
So $350 a month. Okay. You're not asking for a lot of money.
No.
And some of this stuff is about, I think it's like insurance, not assurance, insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And you buy a plan so that if your car breaks down, it's not a $20,000 bill, it's $350 every month. It's a lot easier to deal with that. If you're getting a lot of pushback there, I think I wouldn't personally sell it because it's too little money personally, just speaking, right? But if it's good money and it's a good profit center for you, I would just say, you know, Google and WordPress constantly update and patch security flaws. And you don't want to be vulnerable to hacking, and it won't be completely apparent at the beginning. So that's what we're going to be able to do for you. And it will include X number of hours for any kind of technical troubleshooting that you have. If you need to update something, we can do that for you. Usually when my clients approach us, they ask us to actually include a maintenance bid so that we can deal with that kind of stuff. And you can give them some examples, like when Google said that they warned everybody they're going to stop ranking you if you don't host your site in a secured, whatever that's called, HTTPS thing, right? All you web people, I'm probably messing that up, but what's the kind of pushback you're getting, Vilda?
Just, I mean, right now we have a customer but I feel like their main problem is that we didn't probably present the pricing at the beginning, you know, in the proposal. So we usually, I realize that probably our main problem is that we present it at the end, and we should maybe talk to our customers about it a bit earlier in the process.
Yeah, I think that would be good. It's, if you've done this many times before, you just, here's how I would say. First of all, how much is the web project?
It's like $9,000.
Okay. The reason why I asked that question is if the project was $30,000, $350 is nothing, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I know.
So if you multiply 350 times 10 times 12, it's like $4,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
So it's quite a bit relative to the cost of the site. So I suspect that if you raise the price, oddly enough, of your web projects and keep the price of the maintenance at 350, you're going to get a lot more people to buy.
Yeah.
Because it feels like, wait a minute, you're going to build me a site I got to keep paying you for? That's not fair, right? So I think your idea of bringing it up at the beginning is important. Mm-hmm. And I think you should do it in story form, and you should not try to sell it.
I was about to say, this is Carrie. Hey.
Carrie, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you have a good story to tell about what could happen if you don't? I sell maintenance too, and
what do you sell it for, Carrie?
Well, my price point's different. $120.
$120. Okay, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. But providing them, it actually pretty much sells itself if you can. Don't try to sell it. Tell them stories like of what could happen. Like I was blacklisted 3 years ago by Google because I got hacked so bad, or just different kind of, not scare them,
Well,
but
you
just
told them a scare story. I got a different story to tell you.
yeah.
All right,
So
here's my story. Okay, when I'm selling a project, and if I want to do maintenance, which I generally just don't even want to deal with, right? Is I would say something like most of our clients ask us to do maintenance for them because they're concerned about compliance with ever evolving standards from Google, and it's a little bit of peace of mind for them. If that's something that you want, let us know. We typically charge about $350 to do that. And what that means is this is what we do. We update your WordPress plugins. They're sending patches and updates all the time, so you don't have to deal with that. And we want to make sure we're all compliant. And that's what we're able to do. $350 is not a lot of money. If it's something you want to do, let me know. If not, don't worry about it. Have somebody internally manage that. Okay. But just know from time to time, hackers do figure out WordPress because it's so widely used, and they backdoor you and they'll do some destructive things. But I don't want to scare you. That's the I'm not going to scare you talk, Carrie. Versus like, I've been blacklisted. You know, that TV show, that happened to me.
yeah.
You don't need to do that. It's like, there are not a lot of bad guys in the world, but if you're worried about that, I'll help you out. Don't try and sell such a small item like hard. It's just, it's like, you don't need to do that. It's kind of almost like a throwaway. And then people are like, huh, I wonder if I need to look into this. Okay. And usually they don't have a technical person on their site, on their team. That's why they're coming to you. They don't want to deal with this. You're like, oh, it'll be real easy. Let me show you how to do it. This is what you do, and you update in there. Go, no, $350. Here you go. I don't want to deal with that. Bilda, give that a shot. Let me know how it works out. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Good. I hope you can make $4,000 a year by doing maintenance for all your clients, because that's pretty good money.
That would be great.
All right. Okay. It's 9:21 here, and so we have about 10 minutes left here, and we can talk about strategy only or something super juicy here. Well, let's see how we do. Strategy only. I think a lot of us want to just live in that thinking space, and it's a very nice place to be, where you go in, you do discovery, you write the documentation, and then you just hand it off. It's mostly the brain work, and it makes us happy to do that. It's hard to grow a business around that. Like Aaron and his team, they want to do, I think, $1 million in business, strategy only. And somebody had asked in the $1 million proposal we put together, how much of that $1 million is for strategy? And I said, well, 60,000, I think. I can't remember. I think it was about 60K. Maybe it's a little bit more. And that's it. I mean, at some point we'll get into becoming the Deloitte of the world, or what's the other firm?
Anderson,
PwC, Razorfish, PwC, where they do billions of dollars in buildings for strategy only. We're not there. So right now we do creative services because there's money to be made there and there's relationships to build. Okay. It is difficult to be positioned as a strategy only company right now for us. That's just my 2 cents on that. And I've already spoken about it on a YouTube video, but that's where I weigh in. Okay. Now let me jump to this slide here. Outbound marketing versus inbound marketing. Is Mark Posh on the line? Mark Posh.
no,
God. Mark
he's in Palm Springs. He said sorry he couldn't make it.
Okay. Anyways, Mark Posh, if you're listening to this later, let's do our preview to the battle we're about to have on YouTube. Okay. He's going to come on the show. I posted this graphic. So come on, dude, that's freaking BS. So he private messages me and talks to me about this kind of stuff. And let me tell you where the argument begins. And there's some disagreement even between myself and Ben Burns as to, are we doing outbound or inbound, or what are we doing? Okay. Now, Mark says, look, you have like 80,000 or whatever subscribers on YouTube, yet there's only 130 people in the pro group. And on the surface, it seems like a pretty fair argument that inbound is all BS. Okay, so I'm going to respond to that. And you guys can just jump in there. I'm going to start the conversation, and I would love to have a dialogue with you guys about this. The assumption is that we're building our YouTube channel to build our paid Facebook group. That is not what we're trying to do. What Mr. Mark Posh does not see is everything else is part of our business ecosystem. Granted, you guys are in this group, you paid for it. Hopefully, I'm providing value to you. And if I don't, then it's not worth the amount of money you pay. And I get that. This group will grow. But what we're doing with the inbound stuff, all the YouTube stuff, all the articles that we post, the strategy is actually to grow the community, and the community eventually buys something from us. So we talked about this last time in terms of our revenue has grown by quite a bit. We're nowhere near where we need to be. But if we're comparing year-to-date totals from 2016 to 2017, month to month, like we're comparing Jan 2016 to Jan 17, we're doing about double revenue every single month. So we're on this trajectory to do somewhere between $200,000 to $500,000 a year in passive income as part of the future. I just want you guys to think about that for 1 second. $200,000 to $500,000 in revenue just from the future. That's not a lot compared to blind, but it's a lot compared to we were doing very little before. Okay, so you guys can debate it now. We can talk about it, and let's go. Because what's really great about what we're building in the future is it's totally scalable. You know, I didn't know before what the term startup meant. Like people are like, oh, I'm starting a restaurant. It's a startup. A startup doesn't mean it's a brand new business. A startup means it's a business that can scale. So when you have lots of people involved and it's a service thing, that is not a startup according to what Mr. Jose told me. You guys understand? Like when you launch an app, that's a startup. When you launch Uber, that's a startup because that business can scale. Mario starts manufacture, that's not a startup because it cannot scale. It needs people to do the work, and you hit a growth curve and you can't get past that wall. You can't just put money into it to grow, okay? But the future is a startup. And I'm starting to understand how to talk about it so that people understand what it is we're doing. So let's debate about this whole, is inbound working and all that kind of stuff, and is strategy working? Because he seems to be against it, and sometimes he's for it. I don't understand. Anybody want to talk about that, or we'll just move on? I'm almost done here.
Hey, Chris, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
You know, every video you guys do, you guys have an intro, right? Like
yes.
Almost every time. But you don't have an outro. You don't have anything that goes out that's like advertising something else that you guys do. Why is that?
You mean like we don't have ads on our own YouTube videos?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we don't want to sell anything.
But you want to grow, right?
We are growing. We're growing really fast, you guys. If I showed you my analytics, you'd be like, wow. You want to know some numbers? Let me tell you. Up until about a month ago, we were doing about an average of 3 to 350 new subs every single day, which is 10 times what we did a year ago. Before, it was like 30 subs a day, 30 new subscribers a day. Then we're up to 350. I'm like, this is great. Okay. And then we got into the 500 range. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then I posted in the Future Facebook page, dude, you guys, we broke a new record, 878, the most subs in one day ever.
Yeah, I saw that.
2 days later, we have 2 days that are 2 900 plus days. That's what we're trying to do, Lance. We're trying to build. And here's where I'm going to share a little bit, and you guys can agree to disagree. That's totally cool. I respect your opinion on this, right? In that I'm trying to build the YouTube community to a point in which people are going to take notice of us. Brands, advertisers, clients, people like you. When you get to 1 million subscribers, 2 million, 5 million subs, people take you seriously. That label that Carrie threw at me as an influencer, then I feel we're legitimate. Because in that space, 80,000 subs is nothing. A girl that's attractive can get 80,000 for doing nothing. Okay. Now, you know what Amazon is doing? Amazon, as far as I know, has never been profitable. And they keep getting higher and higher valuation because they're going to own a certain category in space. What their goal is to grow market share. And that's what Mr. Posh doesn't totally understand. There is value in growing the community. I have sponsors coming on board, more sponsors coming on board, and people sending us free stuff now because they're like, well, we just want you to be a brand ambassador for us. Well, I have to look at the product and see if it's any good, and I'll talk about it if I want to, that kind of stuff.
Doesn't Mark know that you're getting clients just from the YouTube channel?
I don't know what he knows and doesn't know, to be honest. I don't. You know what's really awesome, though, is that because we have our show, former clients of mine that I haven't talked to in a decade private message me saying it's awesome what you're doing. And we're about to drop a new video about one of our clients, and we filmed there. So we're doing a documentary kind of series where we go and drop into different agencies. What do you guys think that's doing for us? It's giving us access to the agencies. So we're not going in the front door, we're going in the side door. Most people go in the front door and pitch like, oh, we do creative things, we do creative things, we do creative things. We're going to the side door. It's like, we want to tell the story of this agency, and maybe you'll become curious about us. And we're not going to come in through the same door. Everybody's looking up to you like, oh, mighty one, throw us a bone. We're coming in the side door. It's like, you know what? We don't really need the work. We're here to tell your story. And if you like what we do, look into us. It's a very different way to position yourself. Okay. You guys are going to see, and you're going to see this happen in real time. I mean, it's funny because I'll talk to Sean Tambagahan and Aaron Pearson and Kara Green from time to time, even Lance. They get so excited about hearing the things that are happening. It just feels like, you know, I was there when we're like 10 people, when the Facebook group was 10, and now we're at 130, and we'll be at 200, and we'll be at 500. You guys are part of this original group, that core base, and you're going to see it. Okay. And it's happening, and it's so freaking exciting. Any other questions about that, you guys?
Okay. I think
go ahead.
Along with Lance, like a call to action at the end. I know that YouTube or Facebook or whatever could like disappear, right? And you've lost all of your people. Like, I think at least maybe a call to action to get on an email list or something, just in case something ever happened and that authority is gone.
Okay. You guys, hold on. Before everybody jumps at me like think I'm crazy. First of all, Mr. Jacob Campbell is on the team. He's a volunteer, and he's part of this group too. He is creating all the cards at the end. So now we know to end the videos on a black, 10 seconds of black, so we can promote whatever we want. So he puts up the cards to promote other episodes and to subscribe to the channel. I think that's helping with the growth, making it easy for people to subscribe to us. But just to let you know, Ben Burns told me we're picking up 350 new email addresses every single week now. We're just getting started, you guys.
Oh, good. Okay,
we
good.
grew from a list of 5,000 to over 10,000.
Good. Okay, that was my only concern.
Okay.
Let you grow this
big
following, and then
it's gonna explode, you guys. We're getting picked up by the big blogs now, and the channel, the old curve, it's like this. It's been slowly but steady, and then it's like, what? It's not quite the hockey stick, but it's pretty awesome. It's slow and steady. We're like the tortoise in this thing. Okay, slow and steady. All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Sure, so you're being captured other places. That's it.
Thank you. I'm not worried about YouTube or Facebook disappearing, you guys.
You never know, though.
You never know. Yes, the apocalypse. It's the Planet of the Apes. I get it. Okay, some really quick announcements here, you guys. Just let you guys know, the Future site is officially up, and
nice.
We're not promoting it just yet because there's a lot of little things that we're still working through, but it's officially up. It's thefuture.com. You guys can check it out. We're going to start adding more of you guys as part of that. Now, there are several people in our community that are developing kits to sell because we're also becoming a publishing platform. And this is where the power of the audience is important. Okay. Aaron Pearson is is doing the pilot tests for the affiliate program. And we'll talk to you about that. You have to apply for it. And the affiliate program means if you help to promote and kits are sold through your channel, you get a percentage of the sales. This is how we empower the community, because we trust people more than we trust companies. And so if you guys are out there and you're helping us to build our group through your own network, then we think you should be able to participate in some of the profits from that. And we're just letting you guys know the sales and marketing course, the boot camp, is in beta right now. So everybody that attended or purchased the sales and marketing thing, you guys should have gotten an email from Ben Burns. And it was a lot of work. Oh my God, that was a lot of work. We're going to have to rethink how we do this.
I didn't get an email.
You'll probably get it in the next day or so. He showed it to me
okay.
last night, and he says,
Okay,
is
cool.
it okay if I share it with people? So it's in beta, and you should be able to look at it. We're using Teachable as a platform. No more downloading of videos. Each one of the modules has a series of videos, and some of them have worksheets. And I believe Carrie can attest to this and validate what I'm saying. The worksheets alone are worth the price of admission. And I
Yep.
also want to mention one last little thing about that, which is people who purchase the video course paid $75. People who attended in person paid more, like double, 150. It's not a lot of money. We put so much work into it, we raised the price. And from the feedback that we got from the community saying that was a really good course, it's worth more than this. Believe it or not, we've done something that very few companies do. We charge more for it after it's been released than we did initially. We're doing the reverse discount. So it's being sold for $299 now. What we want to do is say thank you to the people who jumped in early and for their support and for participating. And we apologize for the funkiness, but we went in and we fixed all that stuff. And so in the future, if we announce a course, I want you guys to know that if anything, the price is just going to go up. Okay.
Yeah, it was a really good course, y'all, if you didn't go.
Thank you, Carrie. Last little bit, I'm going to drop a little knowledge on you guys. I did get a chance to interview Blair Enns. It's been pretty freaking awesome. I got to tell you guys, I was a little nervous talking to him because it's like I'm quoting this guy all the time, sharing his information, and then talking to the man himself was like, ugh, it's a little weird. Okay. And so Blair shared a couple of things. He says, I'm working on a new book, but who knows when it'll be ready. I think it's about pricing and value. Okay. And he says, I had this concept, right? If I was king of the world, king of the universe, and I could write 5 laws like gravity, here's what I would say. And he gave me 2 of the 5 laws, and I thought it was really good. First law is to say what you think. That people can only say what they think. So he's said this in a very clear, succinct manner, something that I've been trying to tell you guys too in the Art of Communication podcast, which is when you're uncomfortable with something, say I'm uncomfortable. When somebody asks you to pitch, instead of just going along with it, say, it's a policy not to pitch. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. Or when the budget is too low, just say that I can't do the project for that price. I can't make the numbers work. And when you don't know something, just say, I don't know what that is. Can you explain? Say what you think. Because otherwise you're suppressing what it is that you truly feel, and you start to behave funny. And if you've ever been in that situation before where you're fronting, you're not wholly revealing what you're thinking, you can't be present because you're worried about somebody discovering something about you. And this ties into somebody feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome. Just say what you think. It's on the podcast. It's pretty awesome. And he was gracious enough to send me this high-res photo because high-res photos of him do not exist on the internet. Next thing he said in Blairtopia is, because I asked him this question, so what's the exit strategy, Blair? He says, there is no exit strategy. Death is the exit strategy. It's like, wow. What do you mean? He says, well, everybody runs a company and talks about how they're going to get out, how they're going to sell or be acquired. He says, what if I told you that nobody could ever exit anything that they do? If you pick to do this thing, if you knew that there's no exit, what would you pursue instead? Isn't that more meaningful to look at? And saying, well, why do you do something that you don't enjoy doing? I enjoy doing what it is I'm doing, so my exit is death. And I thought that was pretty profound. It was like a different take on something that I've been thinking about. So that was kind of like made me stop in my tracks. Any questions about Blair Ends? So this episode will probably drop in a couple of weeks, maybe a month, because we have another one that's coming out first. So I'm really excited, to share what Blair said on this podcast. I thought it was really good, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. Okay.
And that'll be on the Future podcast.
Yeah, the Future podcast. Well, thanks for asking. You guys go subscribe and rate and review. I saw a bunch of new people did that recently because I see your names, and I really appreciate that. And the reason why I have to just be a dork about this and really ask is because we recently switched over the URL and it messed it all up. And there's a stupid story behind that. I'm not going to tell it to you. We got it working the right way now. Okay. So everybody that left us a review from the old one, from episodes 1 through 19, they're gone. And if you want, just delete that and subscribe to the new one, because all the new stuff is coming on the new thing. And it looks exactly the same, except for it's the correct URL now. Right? Big things are happening. I'm super excited about where we're going as a company, the community that we're building, the quality of people that are joining this group, the kinds of conversations that we're having. It really is my motivation. It fuels me.